is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back here together again. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about my ranking of all 26 episodes of Danger Force Season 1, because yesterday, Danger Force Episode 26 came out yesterday, so it's the perfect time to review. Well, not review, I reviewed the episode, but now it's time to rank all 26 episodes, so let's get to that. Okay, so I might have reviewed this episode this episode premiered back in January, and to be honest with you, this was one of the episodes, as it was the 15th episode. I haven't seen it since it came out, so technically, I can't really talk about it. But, the premise of, Mika and Miles, having a contest to see how they catch bad guys, to see if it would, or how they do it, and to see how they do it and how many they catch. It's a clever plot line, but I don't remember much of that, so can't say much about it because I haven't seen it since it first came out. Now, this is sort of similar to what I said about Test Friends, where there's some stuff in the episode that I just did not remember until I remembered some memories that I just started remembering. And it was fine. It's definitely kind of forgettable. But overall, it was an episode that plotline's not that good. It is kind of, cliched and all that stuff. But it's kind of forgettable, and I don't really remember much of it. But there are some scenes I do remember, though, which are fun, of course. Okay, so this is another episode that I actually forgot, but I just read the description of this episode that Shoutout and AWOL, they have to, I think this is the episode they have to have a contest to see who can catch more criminals with their own ways of fighting crime. It was not the other episode. I don't know what that episode was. Maybe it was like an episode to see who can trust who, probably. But, yeah, this is another episode that it was kind of clever. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't really remember it that much. Now, this episode I do actually remember, where Captain Man is striking out, and there are some enjoyable scenes in the episode, or there's some cool action. It has some funny moments, and bringing Miss Your Man into the mix is kind of fun. But I think just the problem here is that it's just kind of forgettable. That's kind of why I put it a little bit lower, is that I just didn't really remember it until now. But like I said, it has enjoyable scenes, but I'm not really gonna fix it or anything. I might do it again, but we'll see. But this is kind of forgettable, but it still has some enjoyable scenes with the action and the humor. This is definitely one that I can definitely talk about, and that this episode is just so weird. It basically brings back the character Misshapen. If you don't know, she was one of Henry's teachers in the show Henry Danger, and she comes back in this show, and she wants to put these two kids that were left on the streets, and to basically be part of this school. The plotline was just so weird for this episode. And then, because this show literally is like a Nickelodeon version of X-Men, there's literally a scene where Ray shakes his head and he's sitting in a wheelchair, which is a very brief reference to Professor X, which of course I thought that was pretty funny. But the humor didn't really work. These two kids here, I did not like. They are just annoying to me. And just the whole plot line just did not make sense. So this is easily the episode that I can remember. but it's my least favorite at the same time. Now, Mime Games was a weird episode because basically, Danger Force and Captain Man go to France to fight these mimes, and they have a Captain Man of France, but then you have Bose being left alone, and then like Toddler and Goomer get in the band's nest, and there's a couple of funny scenes, but it doesn't do anything exciting. There's not really any action sequences. The humor is kind of funny, but that's really all I got from it. It was just a funny episode, and that's it. Now this is actually an episode that I actually kind of forget, because the story about Ray not letting Schwoz visit his mom is kind of a good plot line. Kind of makes it a little bit interesting, but funny at the same time. It is kind of weird to see an old lady beat up a fully grown man. But then when it ends, it just doesn't end on I don't think it ends really on a good note, but there's some funny moments. There's some cool old lady fighting man action, and that's it. And the reveal is kind of surprising at the same time when Mika finds out. So it has some good stuff, but kind of forgettable. Now this is an episode that I just find so forgettable, and that the plot is just forgettable. The character moments are forgettable. Pretty much everything is forgettable. I can't really talk about it. It's basically about this like game thing where people go, where Danger Force went to this place, and the episode is just forgettable. I don't know what else to say. For me, it's just forgettable. Now, That Goes Santa Part 2, I enjoyed. It's definitely not as good as the original part of it, but I think it closes out pretty nicely. It's not the best thing, but it kind of gives you more enjoyment of what first episode did of this little part series. But that's really all I gotta say. It's just a little bit more enjoyable, but it's not better, but it's more enjoyability, but at the same time it's not better. Now this was an episode that I actually do remember, which is basically about these pranks that are going on with Border Town and Spellview. And I guess the plotline is kind of memorable. It kind of has some history into it, and then it has this big cliffhanger at the end. And for me, it was enjoyable enough, but it didn't make me seriously into it. But I was kind of excited for the second part, which I'll talk about sooner or later. Now, I honestly thought this was the better part, because I think that it closed out this story pretty nicely in a pretty good way. It's not the best episode, but it closed out this two-part series well enough. That's all I gotta say. Now this was the episode that I thought introduced Christmas in Danger Force very well, because once again, it just literally there's a scene where Schwoz has this big ball thing. He throws it up in the air, and magic Christmas happens, and I'm like, this is amazing. That is fantastic. And you hear the crowd and the audience cheering, this is amazing. And even I was cheering in my own room, my own house. So it has some cheering moments. The story with Krampus and being Santa's brother is kind of forgettable. And when Santa doesn't remember who he is and gets crash landed on the man's nest is kind of predictable since Danger Force is trying to save Christmas. But overall, I enjoyed it. Now this was an episode that I think had some memorable moments, but the entire episode was just forgettable. There were some scenes where I was like, why is Bose's mom acting sus? Like, there was something about her that I wanted to know why she was acting a certain way, or maybe she was just doing that that's just the way that she was. I don't know. I just wish we knew she had a reason for that, of why she was not giving the cat to Bose. But yeah, it was forgettable. It had some enjoyable moments, but it's kind of forgettable too. Now this is actually one of Danger Force's more recent episodes, and I actually kind of enjoyed this episode, but I kind of wish we had a little bit of a careability for the ghost that's haunting Swag, because it seems like we can make like an emotional, funny arc for the character, but it doesn't really end satisfying, as they basically make Miles drink her for her to eat the meat carrot, and like, I don't know, it's not satisfying for me. But it has a good concept. It kind of works in the first parts of the episode, but when you get to the end, I just wish it had a little bit more satisfying in why she did what she did. I wish she had a little bit more reasonability of why she's making all these, like, ridiculous rules up. Now, Family Lies, honestly, this is much like Swag is Haunted, where the episode has a pretty good concept at the beginning, and it's also like Radioactive Cat, where it has something like there's something about the characters that are being sus, and it's like, oh my god, are they gonna find out that is this gonna be the big cliffhanger? They don't do that in this show, but it was enjoyable enough, and like Swag is Haunted, it basically just does not end the way I wanted to. I wish it ended with like them finding out, and then the next episode they find out, and then they have to fight villains and stuff, which would be really cool. But that's not what we got, but I enjoyed it. Once again, this is another episode that I think the premise of the episode where Miles is starting to have a new power with visions, and Time Jerker is actually doing something kind of new with his life, but then he turns bad, but not really in like the most evil way. And then like when it ends with this boss fight with the bad guy from one of the first episodes of the season, the guy from the beating dungeon, and then some other bad guy. And it doesn't make sense of why they all appear. I guess it was just to create a cool action sequence. I don't know, but it had some cool stuff to set up, but the execution did not work so well for me. But I did enjoy it a little bit. Lil Dynomite, I honestly think this is a little bit better of these episodes, because I kind of think that the plot line of bringing Lil Dynomite into Danger Force was kind of a clever idea, since he was very enjoyable and cute and likable in the first episode when he was introduced in Henry Danger. And kind of bringing him back into this show, it was fun enough. But then, honestly, when you rewatch the episode now, you kind of understand why he became a villain and how he became a villain. Like, it's kind of predictable when you think about it. Like, there's obviously gonna be something, because he's just a little kid, like a 6-year-old kid, like an 8-year-old kid that is prepared to do this, but he doesn't know how to fight. So how is he gonna be a superhero, especially a border town? But obviously they have to find some way to make him a superhero, so that way he can fight crime. But overall, I didn't think the plotline worked that much, but it was okay. But overall, it was a bit more satisfying than I thought the other episodes did. Now, this episode, I actually kind of liked a little bit because the plot line was a bit kind of cool. Of Danger Force trying to help out this thing from happening in this fashion show. But then it also has this plot line about these two people, about introducing transgender into the mix, which I kind of thought was a cool thing to explore. They didn't explore it that much, but when they explored it, it was fun. Well, not fun, but it was cool to explore. And then, of course, you know, some of the action was kind of cool, I guess. And the plot was kind of cool. And there was some funny moments. So, the funny moments, the exploration of transgender, and the plot works for me. So, this episode didn't really disappoint for me. Now, this episode really kind of has some weird potential. It's so basically Danger Force is trying to get aliens, the aliens' attention, and basically there's this alien girl that comes down on Earth, and she basically falls in love with Bose. I'm not sure who the girl that plays this young alien creature, but she's pretty. But the way that Bose like turns old and stuff, it just sounds so weird. The humor works, and the action does work as this alien kid is punching people in the face. But overall, and then it does have some emotion when she has to leave Bose forever. But it does something satisfying. I'd probably say Manlee Men is probably better though. I probably need to fix this list. Maybe one day. So this is the finale episode of Danger Force. Well, of this season at least. And as the final episode of this season, I enjoyed it. I thought that the story was pretty good. The action was pretty funny, was pretty good, and the comedy was pretty good. So it got a lot of things right, but you know, there are some parts that are predictable. The story is a little bit kind of weird in the way it's used. But when Shoutout says this big speech to encourage Danger Force, like you feel that this is kind of like the finale of this show, of this season. And then also, it also has this funny moment where like, you hear that when you say something, everybody's quiet, but when someone says, it's like, but when you say a really good idea, people scream out loud and stuff. Like, that's a funny moment right there. But overall, it was a good episode, and a good finale to this season. Now this is for me, this is where the list for me starts as top tier episodes for me, because this is just one of the best episodes. Because I just feel like, obviously the plot is very weird, as they're trying to find this guy that stole all these books besides Captain Man books. This Captain Man captor book, and the plot worked, but you know, of course the action did work at the end, but when you get to the end, it is kind of satisfying when they kidnap him and they make him read Captain Man chapter books. I guess that's kind of fine, I guess. But when you get to that, when Captain Man fights all the bad guys, it's like he gets captures and that's it. Like, they don't fight the bad guys. And I wish they had a more satisfying thing. But overall, it was still enjoyable, and I still liked it. Now, Chapa's crush I think that this is another episode that I really do like, but it does have some issues on the mix. On the plus side, it really is just kind of funny as you see Ray, as the Danger Force are saying that he is worthless, he is like not very a good person, and he doesn't have any friends. And it just brings you back to that moment where basically everybody that people he worked with, Jasper, Charlotte, Piper, Henry, they're all gone. Well, they're still alive, but they're not with him anymore. They're not working with him anymore. And it kind of makes it for a little bit of an emotional arc at the end when Henry comes back. And it was really getting me excited for the next episode, which of course I was just very, very excited for. So I loved that. But then you also got this funny moment where he wants to be friends with his Kunka guy, which was fun. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. But it does have some problems with like they literally just capture him, and like it was surprising that they captured him. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. For me, I think that this is one of the episodes that I think did really nicely, as it's basically one of the episodes that does the superhero origin stuff right, where it has the fun stuff and the heroes are messing up, and because they're messing up, the world is calling them like mean names, and so they're trying to create names for themselves, and I thought it was enjoyable. It is kind of forgettable because I haven't seen it since it first came out back in 2020, but overall, I thought it was enjoyable, and I thought it kind of handled the superhero origin stuff right. This, for me, did everything I kind of liked about Danger Force, where it brought back a character that I absolutely loved. And once again, Henry and Ray's interactions together was of course great. And bringing that little joke about, do I even have to axe? Like, that just brings it back home to Henry Danger. And I love the relationship, the jokes, the humor, the relationship that they had back in the last 4 episodes. Like, the humor works. And then of course, it slams with this big bang finale with Henry and Danger Force teaming up to stop this blackout guy, and it is just a blast to do that. To see Henry and his new replacements to team up to stop this guy, it was a blast. I love this episode. For me, I thought that this was a great introduction to this show, where it felt like that I was kind of seeing this as the seriousness of the last 4 episodes of Henry Danger, where it's going to be a lot more serious, and that we're having these new characters transforming into the superheroes, and we're seeing them like become better heroes, where I thought that this show was going to focus on them becoming the heroes and them stopping the bad guys that escaped from Swellview Prison. That's not what the plotline of the season is, but that's what I was thinking. That was gonna be the plot of this whole season, and that's what the episode got for me. But like, it has some funny jokes. You can see that Danger Force isn't quite on par with Captain Man is, and like he's doing stuff behind his back as he's catching criminals behind Danger Force's back, and then they try to stop bad guys, and they do the worst. And it sets up kind of an arc. Probably at the end of this show, they'll probably have an arc for them as they kind of mess up. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode and really thought it was a great introduction to this whole show. For me, I don't know if it's just me personally, but I honestly like this episode because it really gives you everything you want. Now, obviously, the action is not in there, but what makes the episode so good is that it shows you the perspective of what these characters go through when they're in quarantine. With Ray, he's stuck in the man's nest and he can't get out and no one's there to help him. And then with like Chapa, she has like this app called Click Clock, which is a reference to TikTok, which of course I loved, as she wants to do these new dances and stuff. And like it also like dives into the characters a little bit as they kind of say some sweet things and then they have this like singing finale and stuff. So overall, it did everything I kind of liked and thought it was a conclusive thing, as this was an episode that was related to the part of what's going on in the world today. So I thought it was an enjoyable episode. But that's my ranking of all 26 episodes of Danger Force Season 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram is Marvel6 and my TikTok is Marvel Fan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my bad sections and follow me on all social medias. I am also on Letterboxd. It's the same as my Instagram of _6_. And also comment down below, what is your ranking of all 26 episodes of Danger Force? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.